Yesterday I started our 3-video series going through pictures from a trip I had in Arizona, New Mexico, and Western Texas back in 2016. We ended things in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and that's where we're going to pick things up today. First heading from Santa Fe up to Taos, and then coming back and enjoying the capital of New Mexico. Today's video starts in an important place for me. As we were driving from Santa Fe to Taos, I took a picture of Camel Rock. We were just stopped at a gas station and I zoomed in to capture this unique landmark without even really thinking about it. Well, a little more than 2 years after I snapped that picture, I ran past Camel Rock during the Buffalo Thunder Half Marathon in 2018. I wanted to throw in the official race photos from that point in the course because they're some of my favorite pictures of me ever taken. Much of the drive up to Taos followed along the Rio Grande River. The river even created some incredible physical features like gorges and canyons along the route, starting in the Rocky Mountains and winding its way all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. The Rio Grande has always been a politically charged body of water. It once made up the westernmost border of the United States and Mexico. As a matter of fact, all area to the east of the Rio Grande in what is now New Mexico was incorporated into Texas. First an independent nation, the Republic of Texas applied to become a part of the United States and was admitted to the U.S. as a slave state. With New Spain starting the abolition of slavery in Mexico in 1813, the Mexican Empire freeing all Mexican-born slaves in 1819, and eventually Mexico, officially known as the United Mexican States, putting a ban on slavery in its new constitution in 1824, this made the Rio Grande a very contentious border. Texas was annexed by the U.S. in 1845, and President James K. Polk's Mexican-American War lasted from 1846 to 1848. That brought the land west of the Rio Grande into the United States. Our first stop was the Taos Pueblo, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The village is one of the longest continually inhabited communities in what is now the United States. Puebloan people are speculated to have been living in the Rio Grande Valley since the 13th century, when a drought forced them to migrate from the Four Corners region. As for the structures themselves, the Pueblo's official website estimates they were constructed between the 11th and 15th centuries. That's a window of about 450 years, but they were almost assuredly standing upon Columbian contact with the New World. We rightfully give President Theodore Roosevelt a lot of credit for preserving land in the West by creating national parks, but this is a situation in which he definitely overstepped decency. 48,000 acres of the Pueblo's mountain lands were taken by Roosevelt to form Carson National Forest. President Nixon rectified this in 1970, and President Clinton's administration added more land to the south in 1996. If you're under the impression that this is just an historical site, you would be mistaken. People are actively living and working in the Taos Pueblo. We purchased some artwork from vendors who were creating new pieces as we talked. Roughly a mile south of the Taos Pueblo historical site is the actual city of Taos, New Mexico. This town has a vibe similar to Sedona, Arizona, where an out-of-the-way place with cultural significance has seemed to be overrun by wealthy people looking for someplace trendy and spiritual. I know that sounds harsh, and I didn't necessarily mean it that way. Sedona and Taos are both beautiful, and I love to visit them. I just feel there are other places in the Southwest that keep their traditional feels without turning into a sanitized, yuppie version of the Western experience. There are plenty of museums, shops, art galleries, and statues around every corner in Taos. The art isn't confined to the galleries either. There are plenty of statues and other pieces throughout the town. We ate at a small place called Rick's Restaurant. I love Mexican food, but New Mexican food is its own unique style, and I might like it even more. With Taos resting towards the southern tip of the Rocky Mountains, I was surprised to see Denver Broncos paraphernalia on the walls. I naturally thought bordering Texas and Arizona, I would see Cowboys or maybe Cardinals gear, but Taos is definitely closer to Denver than it is to Dallas or Phoenix. There will be a lot of pictures of churches in these videos. The history of the Southwest, for better or for worse, can't be told without the Catholic Church. While I am a Catholic, and I love the beauty and grandeur of many of these churches, including the influence the native people to the region had after the Spanish surrendered their territories in the Americas, I completely understand how these can be difficult topics. The overwhelming majority of people who have had generations living in this part of New Mexico are Catholics. My hope is sharing these images is to celebrate their culture and not that of the colonizers. Speaking of troubled histories, Kit Carson settled in Taos, New Mexico, and would return often. His story is far too long to share in this video, but needless to say, the acknowledgement that he was an important figure in U.S. history is not claiming that he was a fully positive figure. Over the course of the 2 days in Taos and Santa Fe, we would encounter two churches named after St. Francis of Assisi. My wife Courtney went to a Franciscan college, and Francis's love of animals and nature certainly is a positive quality. Courtney and I even had the Prayer of St. Francis as one of the songs during our wedding, with this emphasis on peace. It's one day my goal to do a few more pilgrimages where I hike in important destinations to build off of my pilgrimage on Ireland's National Famine Way in 2022. I would love to walk the way of St. Francis from Assisi into Rome. On the drive back to Santa Fe, Courtney got a bottle of wine from Black Mesa Winery. We love to find these independent businesses that are off the beaten path. It was also Pride Month, so they were celebrating. And there was another historic Catholic church right across the street from the winery. Looking back towards Taos, we could see the mountains capped with some snow despite it being June. It was already in the hundreds for weeks in the Phoenix area, so these temperatures in the mountains were an adjustment. One of my favorite things to do on a vacation is to leave enough time to take a break from the main itinerary. While I love long road trips, and I'll have some videos in the future from cross-country road trips, I always feel like I'm in a race to make it to my next location. On this trip, I wanted to make sure we only had one or two things planned per day so that we could venture. That's why I had time to enjoy El Morro National Monument in the last video. Before returning to Santa Fe, we took a detour to visit Los Alamos. Of course, all of the Oppenheimer fans are now well aware of the significance of this town. While we all know the connections of the town to the Manhattan Project and the creation of the atomic bomb, the extent to which the area is littered with science and defense businesses is staggering. That's one of the reasons I was thrilled to find this small statue dedicated to Pollyanna near the library. This is a reference to the character from the 1913 novel of the same name by Eleanor H. Porter, in which the title character tries to find something good about every situation. Over the years, many pacifists have been labeled Pollyannas for always thinking there is a way to deal with international conflicts without war. In a place associated with the most destructive weapon ever used by mankind, I think it's important to pay tribute to those who at least question on the other side of the hawk versus dove debate. No matter what your personal opinions are regarding President Truman's decision to drop 2 atomic bombs on Japan to end World War II, there is a macabre vibe to Los Alamos. It is so beautiful, and at the same time, the destruction that was created here is ever present. We returned to Santa Fe in enough time to see some of the city's beautiful artwork. We also walked outside of the shrine to Our Lady of Guadalupe. The inside of the church was closed for the day, and we knew we were going to be visiting the following day as part of our walking tour of downtown. But as much as I love to leave extra time in my plans, I also try to never ignore a place I want to see. No matter how many times you tell yourself you'll see it tomorrow, you often run out of time. We ended up at the famous New Mexican restaurant Tomasitas. As always, I got my burrito Christmas style with red and New Mexican green chilies. The fry bread and honey to top off the meal was the perfect dessert as well. Every city in Arizona and New Mexico seems to have great mom and pop Mexican places, and I would recommend trying them as much as possible. For a pretty famous one, however, Tomasitas has quality food. The next morning, we visited the Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi. Before even entering the church, you are greeted by a statue of St. Kateri Tekakwitha. Known as the Lily of the Mohawks, Kateri is the first Native American saint and was, in her own way, an early feminist. She converted to Catholicism after meeting with Jesuit priests from France and decided to dedicate her life to her faith. Rejecting the dictates of men from both sides of her life, she refused to marry as her Mohawk relatives were pushing, deciding to remain celibate and control her own body. She also would pray by lying on thorns that were placed on her sleeping mat. This was a tradition that she took earlier from Mohawk traditions, but was looked down upon by the Jesuit priests who were teaching her. I have so many images of St. Kateri's statues, and I would love to share her story in more detail, so that may have to be a project for me in the future. A Catholic church has stood on this same site since the founding of the city of Santa Fe in 1610. Franciscan friars were among the Spanish settlers who traveled north from Mexico City to found territory in what is now New Mexico. They built a small chapel on this site, and the Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi was actually built around that original chapel. The walls were then torn down and taken out through the front door of the church. The stained glass windows depict the 12 apostles and come from France. The Chapel of La Conquistadora, or Our Lady of Peace statue, dates back to 1625 and is believed to be the oldest representation of the Virgin Mary in the United States. The statue, unfortunately, was not on display the day we were there, but it usually resides on this altar. Next up, we come to the Loretto Chapel, which is a former Catholic church that is now a museum and sometimes is used to host weddings. I first visited this site in 2014 with my best friend Matt, who is a contractor. Matt was the one who told me the story of the incredible helix staircase that leads to the choir box. According to legend, the Sisters of Loretto, who were tasked with fundraising and oversight for the construction of this chapel, prayed for 9 straight days to St. Joseph, the patron saint of carpenters, when the original architect on the project died before completing the stairs. On the final day, a carpenter arrived and offered to build the staircase. The mystery man used no modern tools and left before taking any payment from the sisters. No glue, nails, or other pieces of hardware were used in the construction of the staircase, which is viewed as a marvel of carpentry even by those who don't believe the more fanciful story. Even the few supports that appear now have only been added over the years, but the staircase never needed them. It ascends 20 feet, completing 2 spirals, and contains 33 stairs. 33 is the reported age of Jesus when he was crucified. The Sisters of Loretto believed that the unknown man was St. Joseph himself. However the staircase was built, it is an incredible achievement of carpentry and even a better ghost story. The San Miguel Chapel was also built in 1610, the year of Santa Fe's founding, when considering the Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis was erected around the original chapel structure in that location, and the original structure was later removed. San Miguel is often considered the oldest church building in the United States. The altar screen dates back to 1798. It's claimed to be the work of an unnamed artisan with the nickname Laguna Satiro, who worked frequently in the region at the end of the 18th and beginning of the 19th centuries. The statue of St. Michael the Archangel has been in the chapel since 1776 after being created in Mexico in 1709. We passed more outdoor artwork on our way back to the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe, but this was also where I got an amazing phone call. I was offered a job interview at a hot AC radio station in Phoenix, Arizona, while I was walking this stretch of road. I eventually got the gig and ended up working for over a year at a major market radio station. At the time, I was still working sports radio full-time, so this was a nice part-time job and certainly a highlight on my resume. There are a lot of mysteries surrounding the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe, including its age. The best estimates suggest it could have been built around 1795, but there's no concrete proof it existed before 1821. The altar screen of the Virgin Mary was built in Mexico City and transferred to Santa Fe. finally, this last statue is of a different type. Leroy Petrie is a Santa Fe native who was awarded the Medal of Honor from President Obama for his bravery in Afghanistan on May 26th of 2008. After suffering gunshot wounds in both of his legs, he picked up a grenade and attempted to throw it away from his men. He saved their lives, but the grenade exploded. He lost his right hand in the incident. Despite his injuries, Petrie re-enlisted and served in the military until 2014. That's where we're going to leave things off in today's video from my trip to Arizona, New Mexico, and Western Texas from back in 2016. We're going to conclude the 3-video set tomorrow. We're going to start in Roswell, New Mexico, visit Lincoln, visit White Sands National Park, Las Cruces, New Mexico, and El Paso, Texas, all in one video. Join us tomorrow. Also make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to you soon.